Support provided by Walters, Papillon, Thomas Cullins, LLC, specializing in business litigation and personal injury cases for over 40 years.
People actually still do call themselves hackers, and they do good things when they're hacking. So what do hackers look like? Well, there's the stereotypical, the guy in his mom's basement or something, but that's not what they are. They are very sophisticated, they're very organized. Most of them are in Eastern Europe, either Russia, Ukraine, Romania. There's also a lot in China as well, but they are very sophisticated at what they do. Phishing is something we're going to talk about now. What is phishing? It's the attempt to get your sensitive information, trying to get your password to get you to log into something, to get your information in a way that you think you're going to something, but you're really not. So here's some examples. This is what an obvious email, and I apologize for how small it is, but that's kind of like the email Stephen was just talking about. Give us your name, your social security number, all those. And everyone knows to just delete that email. Here's one that is not quite as obvious. Well, this is Amazon Prime. It must be a good thing, except when you look at the hello shopper at gmail.com, Amazon's not going to send something without putting your name on it. The next thing, if you can read that, it says, please click here to get your reward. Oh, who doesn't love free things? So we want you to click here, and then we're also going to put, there was an expiration date, so you've got to hurry and do this. Don't miss out, kind of thing. So this is an email that I got not long ago from Entergy. It looks legitimate. It probably could have been legitimate, but it's asking me to sign up to get my bills electronically. It's asking me to sign up and get my text messages whenever there's outages, something I had already done years ago. So immediately I got real nervous and just deleted the email. You got to be careful about what you're looking at. This was a very famous phishing email. This was going back to 2007. eBay got hit with a whole lot of people that they didn't know what happened to them. This email went scattering around the internet, and people, right there in the middle of it says, click here to change your password. Well, people thought, oh my God, I've got to change my password, and they clicked on that link. What they did not realize was it took them to a page that looked like eBay. Nobody paid attention to the URL, to the web address, that it was not actually eBay, it was a different address. And then the page said, put in your old password and now your new password. When you put in your old password, guess what they had? They had your password to get into eBay, and they went on a big shopping spree. And there were millions of people who lost millions and millions of dollars because of this type of email. So some things to look at. Dear Sir. eBay is not going to send something to Sir. They're going to send your name on it. Then if you see an email that says click here to do anything, that's pretty much an obvious delete it. This is another famous email that went around. It's from Bank of America. Obviously, it's got Bank of America's logo on it, so it must be right. It must be a good email. Except if you look at up here at the very top, the address, the email address that it came from is crvdgi@comcast.net. Bank of America does not use comcast.net for email addresses. The next one down, it says to undisclosed recipients. Well, if Bank of America is going to send you an email, they're going to put your name on it. They're not going to send it to undisclosed recipients. And then also, if you reply, again, it goes to that same comcast.net email address. Then, dear member, not your name again, just member, really? So then a real good way to know if something is wrong, if you hover your mouse over that URL, that bankofamerica.com, it's going to show you go to the address that it's going to send you to if you click on that link. Well, this gave off a .bit, geo, and a whole bunch of other code. It was a website that you didn't want to go to, basically. And so another thing to look for when you get inside of these, look for grammatical errors. If you see, and you can't see it really well very here, but there's no space but after the comma, and there's a capital letter after a comma, subtle little things like that are a good sign. And then also, when you see font changes where they shouldn't be changing, if it really is from your bank or your credit card or whoever, they're not going to have goofy looking changes like that in the middle of their email. So I got this email earlier this year, and if you look at it, okay, office.365.outlook.com is holding my emails. But when you look at it again, Microsoft doesn't use Comcast.net to send emails from. And then look at the subject line. Hi, you have 7 incoming mails. That, it just doesn't sound right. So I don't, again, no recipient. This was not, who are they sending this to? They didn't put my name on it anywhere. So, and then I know there is no such thing as office.365.outlook.com. So, big things like that. Again, dear holder. No, my name is Haggai, not Holder. And, here we have another red flag. By clicking here, they want you to do something. And then again, we have more grammar errors, no spaces after commas kind of thing. And then look at Microsoft support, microspace support. It's, when you see things like that, that's an obvious sign this is a bad guy, you need to delete it. So Sherry actually she heard this presentation last fall, and she got pretty good at spotting these kinds of things. And so she sent this email to me saying, hey, isn't that one of those phishing emails? And I said, yep, let's go step by step and see what it was. The first thing, it came from outlook@txp.outlook.org. That's not a Microsoft address. That's the first big sign right there. The next one, reset your password in progress. Ooh, scary, they're about to reset my password, I better do something quick. And then the big buzzwords in big letters, Microsoft, Outlook, Office 365, it must be important, right? Because they have all these big buzz names on there, so I've got to do something with it. So then right here in the middle of it, it says, ignore this email notification and your request will take effect shortly. So if you don't do something, your password changes are going to take into effect. So you need to click right here to cancel that request. And unfortunately she did not. Sherry did delete the whole email. But had she clicked on there, she would have begun having a very bad day. Then also another little tip down here, this is something most people probably wouldn't recognize, but the Microsoft address is actually a Seattle address, but Microsoft is in Redmond, Washington, not Seattle. So that's my little thing. I picked up on that one, not many people would have. So we're going to talk a little bit, now we'll move on from phishing to ransomware. What is ransomware? Well, you're seeing, I'm guessing that's what that sign is over here. Ransomware is the software that when you open it up, it encrypts your entire computer. All the data, if it gets across your network, it can shut down your server, and it's going to be a bad day if you get the ransomware loaded on your software, on your computer. Usually this ransomware comes in the form of an attachment inside of a spreadsheet or a PDF or something along those lines. You click on it, and then the virus starts taking effect. Last year, WannaCry was one of the 2 big ransomwares that came out. You got this screen, it was going to be a real bad day for you, and probably several days to come afterwards. When you get these, they don't want you to spend thousands of dollars. They only want to inconvenience you for $300, maybe $400 at the most, because if they're going to try and charge you thousands of dollars, you're not going to pay it. You're going to hire an IT services company to come out and fight this. But for $300, okay, fine, just here's the Bitcoins, just give me my decryption codes and let me get my data back. And you can see these things have timers on them. What'll happen when you get an email and you click on it, a lot of times it doesn't just launch right away. Sometimes these things will have a 30-day or 45-day or as much as even 120-day launch, so that it tries to run across your network and infect as many different computers across your network. And so if it takes 30 days and on day 31 it launches and it has reached across and gotten on every computer in your office and your servers, then everything is now locked down until you put in the decryption code. You have to go buy some Bitcoins, you have to submit the Bitcoins to them, and you have to then hope you actually get the decryption code back. That's only about 60% of the time that you actually get the decryption code once you give them the money. So it's, because part of that problem is these nefarious folks, when they're doing these things, they're bouncing off 6, 7, 8 servers sometimes to communicate with you, and if that link breaks at any one of those servers along the way, they have no way of getting you your code. They got your money, but they have no way of saying, okay, here's how you go ahead and decrypt, and you cannot unencrypt everything without that code. It's locked down, so that you're going to basically have to wipe your drives and reload from backups, and it's a long process to do that. So firewalls. Now, firewall is usually a physical hardware device. Sometimes you can use software to do firewall, but firewalls read the traffic that come in and out of your computer network. This is kind of an example. So if you have different locations or multiple offices that you want to have multiple firewalls to protect all of your locations, each one is going to report back to a main server environment. But the firewalls are a very good thing. The one thing you want to do is not have firewalls that are very old. If your firewall is more than 4 years old, it's time to get a new one. Social media requests are the really big thing that's really taking over the whole cybersecurity kind of issues. This is where people are using things like LinkedIn to send out requests. Oh, I got somebody asked me to join my network. Okay, fine. Let me do that. So in 2017 alone, 44% of all of the social media subjects in emails were LinkedIn emails. So if just 5% of those LinkedIn requests had bogus payloads in it, or viruses or malware or whatever, that's a lot of mail. So if you get that email from a LinkedIn request, let me join your network, just delete the email. If it really is somebody legitimate, go to your LinkedIn webpage and accept there at the web page. By clicking on that accept on that email, you've got a real good chance of opening up a virus, opening up a malware, a ransomware, or whatever. So, why? And then you have to ask yourself, why is this business coach from Kuala Lumpur wanting to join my network in Baton Rouge? and so when you go to LinkedIn's page and you see, oh wait, that doesn't match up. I did not actually get a request from this guy from Kuala Lumpur. I wonder if that was a bad email. Probably so. Good thing I deleted it. So there's also direct access attacks. So direct access attacks are when I'm getting your information directly from you. If I have a USB reader or a Bluetooth reader, if I'm a rogue employee or just somebody sitting in your parking lot and you have that wireless keyboard that is so really convenient you can pick up and move around, those things broadcast out as up to 300 feet. And so I can sit there with my Bluetooth reader and I can read every keystroke you make on that Bluetooth reader. So if I'm in the cube next or the office down the hall and I'm mad at you and I get one of these readers, I now know every keystroke you take, and it's pretty easy to figure out what your password is, so now I've got you. The other things, USB drives, those things it's so dangerous, because you leave that computer sitting out and somebody who has ill intentions takes out their USB drive and they stick it into that slot. It takes 30 seconds if the software was done right, because your computer is going to immediately recognize, hey, there's a USB drive. I need to recognize this. Well, that software, if done right, can blunt force itself into that computer. It puts its payload on 30, you unplug USB, you start walking away, you get home, that computer in that office is now calling you for you to get back into their network. You don't have to try and work to get in. That computer is now calling you because you left the payload with that USB stick. So you have to be real careful about how people have access to the computers on your network. So Sandbox is a really cool technology. This is a relatively new product that's coming out. What Sandbox does, it works in conjunction with your firewall. And so when you see, what it does is it reads that every bit of email traffic, every web traffic, everything coming into your network, and that firewall, that Sandbox, looks at an email and says, wait a minute, there's some software in that attachment. Doesn't look good to me. It creates a virtual PC in the cloud, and it opens up that software and lets it run. And if that software opens up and says, now I got you, ransomware, it immediately kills that virtual PC. Then it alerts the network administrator, you have a bad problem over here in this email. It's quarantined, but you need to kill it and then let the user know they were about to get a really bad email. So sandboxing it's a very new technology. It's only about 2-3 years old, and it's really coming along nicely. So when it comes to businesses, there are two types of businesses about being hacked. Businesses that have been hacked and they know it, and I guess you can do the math. Businesses have been hacked and they don't know it. Yes, your businesses have been hacked. Now, were they successful in getting through the firewall? Were they successful trying to get into you? Hopefully not, probably not. But I, with 100% certainty, can tell you your computer networks have been attacked. So, some cybersecurity stats. Ransomware has grown by 50% every year since 2016, and it's now a $100 billion industry. This one right here, this really breaks my heart. Over half of the small to medium-sized businesses who get hit with ransomware are out of business within 6 months. If they didn't protect themselves, if they don't have good backups, if they're not doing things to maintain their data in a nice and safe environment. This really should be 100% of all security incidents involve human error, but the stats I found only showed 95, so we'll go with that. 2/3 of all cyber espionage start with those phishing emails. Those emails I showed you earlier, 2/3 of all of it start there. And this is an interesting number to me. $50 for a medical record, but it's only $1 for your social security number. So think about that for a minute. Your social security numbers are out there. Everybody has them. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Your medical records is where the money is. And kind of like the guy, the bank robber of old, who said, "Why do you rob banks?" He said, "That's because that's where the money is." Well, a little over a third of all attacks are going after financial services industries, more than any other industry out there, because that's where the money is. So the motivation behind these attacks, cybercrime is 2/3 of everything. The number that scares me, if you can see that up here, is this little pie piece right here, cyber warfare. This was 2017 numbers. 5% of all was cyber warfare. That's a frightening number, because it doesn't take much to go from 5 to 10%. And cyber warfare is nation states doing things. This isn't me getting mad at North Korea or something. This is North Korea getting mad at some other country and trying to do things. So that number grows and things get real ugly fast. Some more statistics. The one in the upper right corner is the one that caught my attention the most. In 2016, there were 357 million unique pieces of malware created. That's almost 1 million per day were created. And that was 2016, so you can only imagine that number is a whole lot more today than it was back then. So you have to do things to protect your business and yourself. So how do you protect yourself? The first and most important thing is to have antivirus, any spyware, malware, and a good firewall. You keep these things up to date, you let the patches come through, have your antivirus software update itself daily. Do not try and think, oh, well, I'll do that myself. I'll remember to go and get the updates. And the first day you don't go and get the updates, it's going to be the day that virus comes through that's going to nail you. So please let your computers go out and get the updates. And we're not talking about the Windows Server updates kind of things. Those are things you want your IT services company fooling with, your IT departments. This is for your PCs, especially your PCs at home, and Macs too. Your Macintosh computers do need antivirus software. For the myth that used to be that Macs were safe, they're not immune. You need antivirus on a Mac. You need strong passwords, at least 9 characters. Capital letters, special characters, and some numbers, and we'll show you some examples of that in just a minute. Go look at your credit scores. Look at your credit information. If all of a sudden you've got 2 MasterCards on your credit history and you've never had a MasterCard, you've been hacked. And, back up your information in the cloud, off-site, away from your computer. You know, just having a backup sitting next to your computer doesn't do you any good if your house burns or a flood happens or any of those kinds of things. So keeping your data off-site somewhere is really important, protecting yourself. What's the biggest threat to your business? Your employees. Clicking on anything. Clicking on emails, clicking on attachments, it happens. It's the number one problem when any IT service walks in and says, okay, what happened? Well, such and such clicked on an email again, and okay, we're down. So the next thing is to bring your own device to your network. We all have smartphones, we all have iPads, we have tablets, we take home with us, or we bring our equipment from the house, and we get on our Wi-Fi networks at the office. And when you bring your infected computers from the house to the office, now you've got infections trying to get onto the network. So the bring your own device it's okay to do it if you protect and set up your network. Create a guest network if you don't have one already, so that when those bring your own devices get on your network, they can only see the internet. They can't not see anything else across your network. The USB drives, like I mentioned before, if you've got a front-facing computer for walk-up traffic, and it's disable it. Disable the USB drives, because if your computer's sitting there at the kiosk where you have people walking in and out, or if anybody can within arm reach get to that USB drive, it's a doorway into your business. It's not you've just got to shut those things down. Passwords, okay. I'm not going to ask you to show of hands, but how many of you actually have your password taped to the bottom of your keyboard because you can't remember your password? Or the ones who are really, really cautious, you open up the drawer and it's right there taped to the wall of the other drawer. If you're doing that, the cleaning crew thanks you because they're selling your passwords. Don't do that. If you have employees who don't log out of their computers, if their screen stays up and open 24/7, that's a problem. Because if I'm mad, if I know I'm leaving the company tomorrow and I'm frustrated with you, I'm going over that computer and I'm going to have my way, and then I'm out the door and you're going to think it was him doing it, not me. So for people who don't have their computers shut down or log out after 15 minutes or 30 minutes of inactivity, that's a big problem. And change your passwords at least twice a year. If you just will do it, have the network automatically require you to change your passwords twice a year, that improves your security dramatically. So how can you safeguard your company? Start with some training. At least once a year, do some kind of company-wide communication with all of your employees via newsletter, a company meeting, some kind of way. You've got to let everybody know these are our cyber policies, because everyone does have a cyber policy, right, in their business. You all have network plans, how to use information, how to use the internet. If you don't, please get one. Again, firewalls, the next generation firewalls and the endpoint security. Next generation of firewalls are basically any firewall that's been within the last 3-4 years. If you have a firewall from 2009, you don't have much of a firewall. So please keep your firewalls up to date. Your IT guy is not just trying to sell hardware. I promise you that. There's not that much money selling hardware. Rob will tell you the margins are so small, but the benefits are huge by keeping your hardware up to date. Okay, so the 3-2-1 rule when it comes to backup and disaster recovery. You need 3 copies of your data. You need it in 2 different media, and at least one has to be off-site. So you have your server, you have a backup device sitting next to it, that's fine, but then you have to have it off-site as well. The food bank back during the flood, their servers were a foot off the ground. But we had been working with them, and we had off-site backup on all 3 of their servers. They had 5 feet of water in the food bank. They would have lost everything had we not backed up their servers off-site for them. So You cannot expect a flood. Tornadoes, lightning strikes, rogue employees who have a glass of salt water who are very mad at you will take out your server quicker than, well, actually it takes about 5 days for that to really happen, and you don't know it was them because the salt water is going to crystallize over the motherboard, and you're going to wonder what the hell happened. So, keep your data offsite. And this never happens either. Work with an IT services company who understands cybersecurity. Whoever's taking care of your computer network right now does not keep up with technology, if they don't know what's going on out there, find somebody new. So there's 7 rules that I tell people to follow when it comes to emails. The first one is assume every email has a virus. Assume every email has the plague. You don't know until you're 100% certain that that email doesn't have a virus in it. Assume that it does. Don't open attachments. And even if you know who the attachment's from, let's say you and I are working on a project together and I create a spreadsheet and I send you a spreadsheet. But what you don't realize is that my computer was infected. And so I sent you a spreadsheet. I created it, I didn't know, but now I've sent you an email with an attachment that's infected, and guess what your computer is now? So you have to be very, very careful about email attachments. It's not to say that every email attachment is going to be infected or anything like that, but you have to be very certain, be very careful. My mom is here. Please, Mom, stop opening the pictures of the blue Danube. Don't forward emails that have been forwarded multiple times. Anytime you see FW colon, FW colon, FW colon, FW colon, FW colon, the more times that email has been forwarded, exponentially the number of chances of that having malware in it goes up. So if you see this email has been forwarded 5, 6, 7, 8 times, it's 1,000% chance that there's malware in these emails. If it doesn't look right, delete it. We saw the pictures earlier, the examples of the phishing. If it doesn't look right, just really delete it. It's okay. You have my permission. Delete it. Even if it looks right, like that Entergy example I gave you, it looked right, but it just doesn't seem quite right. It's okay. Delete it. Your bank, credit card, anybody you do e-commerce with will never ask you to click here to do anything. They want you to go back to their website. Please come back to Chase's website. There's information there for you. Please go to Entergy's website, sign into your account because we have information for you. Do not just click here. It's never going to be a good thing. And yes, this one was created for my mom. If you have to type in, I don't know if this is true, but just delete it. It's not true. It's over with. It's not gonna be true. Just delete that email. Love you, Mom. All right, so some examples of what is not a secure password. Anything to do with the word password, okay? That is not secure. You can put a 0 or an @ symbol and you think you've done something. You haven't. We all know that's the first thing people try. QWERTY. The top 6 keys on the upper left, QWERTY. Don't do that. Any combination of numbers, please. And don't use your birthday. And we're all LSU fans or Southern Jags or New Orleans Saints. Don't just use something as simple as LSU Tigers because there's no security in that. So what does a secure password look like? How about the word baseball? That's BASEBALL. It's the capital B, the @ symbol, S, a 3, the B, A, and the exclamation point, and the number 1. A lot of creativity, a lot of variables in there. You use an email like a password like that, and you've got something secure. So, using 3 random words together, green horse truck with an exclamation point. That is a very, very secure password because it goes out almost 20 characters. If you have to use your birthday, and this is my birthday, April 23rd, 1962, that is a secure way to do it. If you have to use your birthday and remember it, okay, fine. Maybe you want to use today's date, May 9th, 2018. If you want to go that far out, that is a very secure password. And let's say you are an LSU Tiger fan. The difference between the one at the bottom and the one at the top, the L, capital L with the $sign, the 1, the 3, now all of a sudden you've made LSU Tigers much more secure, or Southern Jags, or New Orleans Saints, or ULL, for the Raging Cajuns over there. So, two parting thoughts. The delusion of privacy ended with the beginning of Google. Let that sink in. And on the internet, if you're not paying for it, you're not the customer, you're the product. So Facebook, Google, Twitter, Snapchat, all of those things where it's free to use, keep using it because those companies love the fact that you think it's free. You're not the customer, you're the product. They're selling your information. So when Facebook has got somebody who wants to, they want to advertise to some guy in his mid-50s in South Louisiana and Baton Rouge specifically who's got conservative values, they're going to put an ad on my Facebook page instead of buying an ad on Channel 2 or Channel 9 or whatever that I may or may not ever watch. They can be much more specific because they're using the information. I gave up that right, that delusion of privacy by using these free services on the internet. So that's a little bit about cybersecurity. If we have any question and answers, I'll be glad to take shots. I'm sorry, why are medical records so valuable? Because you have so much more information in them than just a social security number. You have, when your information about what medicines you're taking, what hospitals you go to, there's a lot more in your medical records. Do you smoke, do you drink? All the demographics are in your medical records that you take, and so that's why they want that information, because they can turn around and sell all of that information to the companies who want to push ads out to your computer. Yes, ma'am.
Two questions. One,
Do we have microphones?
why is there misspellings and stuff in those emails, those phishing emails? It seems like if they're smart enough to send them out, they'd be smart enough not to have.
She's asking why are there misspellings and grammatical errors and those types of things in the phishing emails. A lot of times it's because those emails are created in Romania, in the Ukraine, in Korea, in China, and they don't understand our language, our grammar as well, because English is kind of crazy compared to their languages.
And the second question is, if you're just, if you have a personal PC, what do you recommend firewalls and stuff like that?
So at your house, if you keep every 2 to 3 years, go out and buy a new Wi-Fi router for the house, and a Linksys, a D-Link, any one of those kinds of things that you can buy at the big box stores is fine for the house. But you want to make sure that you're running Windows Defender or Trend Micro or any one of the antiviruses, and let those things protect. Windows does have an internal firewall on the computer, and so it will act as a firewall on that PC for you as well, but you have to enable it.
What about when you get updates that ask you if you'd like to save your passwords on your phone, or you can save your password on your computer? Is that safe to automatically save your password, so when you just put in your login, your password, is that safe?
It usually is. It depends. There are programs out there that you can use that will allow you to do one password one time, and LastPass is a good example. You create your account, and then every time you go to another website that asks you to create a password, you go back to your LastPass, and then it'll create a 25-character password for you. But if you're using Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge or Firefox, one of those browsers that will store your passwords, generally those are safe because that is stored locally. The problem is if you get any kind of malware that starts running around inside of your computer and it starts looking for your password history, it is there. So you can, if you get something on your computer, that's one of the first places it's going, is to your browser to look for your password history. Because if you have Google Chrome, I can show you right now every one of your passwords if you've been saving them.
So where is it, can you hear me? Okay, so where is it safe to keep your password?
There are programs.
Especially if you have multiple ones and you're using multiple devices.
LastPass. They're LastPass. There are several different websites that you can go to that will store and create passwords that are very safe and secure for you. I think we're done.
Support provided by Walters, Papillon, Thomas Cullens, LLC, specializing in business litigation and personal injury cases for over 40 years.